And the opening night, we knew we had a hit.
And they will listen, they either like it or they don't like it.
I was under the influence of love.
I would not allow that.
And welcome to Music in Mind with me, Frankie Rose. Thanks for joining me tonight or today. I really have someone special joining me on this show. So, as you know, in this show, I have had many guests from many genres of music. We've had punk, indie, rap, folk, and so on. Tonight we're going classical, and I'm delighted to be joined by Dermot J. Kennedy, a piano composer based in Dublin. Dermot uploaded some of his tracks to SLERADIO, and I discovered Timber Boy and was hooked. So here he is. Dermot, welcome to the show.
Hi, Frankie. Thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have you. Now, just one thing. Do you pronounce your name Dermot or Dermot? Because I have a nephew called Dermot, which is why I'm going
Dermot,
down that.
Dermot is...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. So let's just, before we get started, just tell me a bit about yourself and your background, Dermot.
Yeah, well, I started really recording in the last couple of years. I'd given up piano as a teenager, and after about 15 years or so, I decided to take it up again, and I did finished the grades and did a bit of performance. I found myself composing afterwards once I felt I had the technical skills, and things just kind of the pieces start kind of coming naturally to me. So in about 2019, I kind of sent in a few tracks to some radio stations, and they played them, and then so the problem is when you get encouragement, it's hard to stop. So I'm still encouraged. Yes,
that's cool. And what made you just take it up again? Because I actually did piano when I was younger. I did a few grades, and then I don't know what happened. Just exams or something or other, and it's something I always wish I had kept. So what got you back into it then after all that time?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think, was there a single thing? I started listening to probably listen to more classical music lately, and I was playing, so I'd actually, when I gave up the piano in my teens, I took up the guitar and actually was playing more metal guitar and played in metal bands, and that was the kind of what I was into, guitar solos. And So I think what really happened in the last few years, I just found myself drawn back to the piano.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a
So
real contrast there between the
yeah, but
metal
good
right through.
music, good music is good music
Yeah.
at whatever the genre. I think you can, you see that a lot of these bands they do, or even classical groups do
Mhm.
interpretations of famous pieces, and
Yeah.
you can see why they were popular
Yeah.
in the original form. So
Good stuff. So, I guess by day you're working in, is it Dublin City University? So how do you
yeah,
sort of, yeah, so how do you reconcile, the 9 to 5, sensible
yeah.
working man and the joy and the freedom of the music?
Well, I guess I think of it like just like instead of being an avid golfer, I'm an avid pianist
Yeah.
type of thing. So um, I suppose that's it. If I suppose with COVID, I expected I'd probably play more, but maybe at lunchtime I get to play because I'm right at home a lot of the time. But you don't, probably not as much. I think the what helps is because it's a solitary thing, you can
Hmm.
do it in your own time.
Yeah.
And so in the evening, late at nights, I would use headphones and that when I'm, or I have a piano here, but
Yeah.
for late playing, you would, it's it's fine. You can do it.
Yeah. And do you, because, I can see that lovely piano. So do you, in this day and age, it's all digitized and there's Logic Pro and all these fancy systems to create music. Do you ever venture onto the electronic, technical computer side of things? Or are you very much a traditional, using your hands?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think the standard of the sampling is really good. I mean, I have a baby grand here, but I wouldn't use that for recording because you just won't get the mics, you won't get the sound. So it is, I find it better using sampled
Yeah.
electric keyboard. I
Mm.
would not know the difference.
Mm.
Sorry, I just like the quality of the samples. The ones I use are samples from the Yamaha CFX in Abbey Road,
Uh-huh.
and it's just I think the sounds. It's when you play it with your headphones on, it's quite exciting. So
Yeah.
I think I think that's probably helped the technical developments
Hmm.
and being able to have access to that. And of course, then just playing one track and recording. You just have to do a good performance, which is easier said than done. But
Yeah.
at least you're not wasting time editing. I found when you play with bands, you'd be a lot of time trying things out, but with the piano, it's just get a performance.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's that. You have to get the performance though. So that's the thing. And of course, mistakes and all. You want to try make it as accurate as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk to you about the Eternal Memory, which is a
Mhm.
15-year life logging experiment that's going to be shown at the Kerry Film Fest, but it was also shown at Cannes and the Montreal film festivals too. So, first of all, what is life logging, and how did this all come about, all this recognition?
Yeah, so it actually came with, along where there was a grant given by a university for staff or students to do community-based art interaction. So I originally was planning to do a gig and to write a piece that a community a group of violinists called Satanta Strings in Ballymun would perform.
Mm.
So that was the plan. And then, of course, COVID happened and we couldn't do anything. And for a number of months, we were kind of waiting to see would things open up again, but they weren't. And one of my colleagues is a life-logging scientist, which is he pretty much has worn a camera on his shirt for 15 years
Wow.
and gathered data from his life
Hmm.
for the 15 years, and he's developed a search engine on that, so you can and an interface so you can find out what bottle of wine he drank in 10 years ago at Christmas Day. You could do kind
Amazing.
of searches. It's like a Google of the self type of thing.
Yeah.
And so so we originally were planning to do a part of a virtual reality type of, to bring that into the performance as well. But actually so then, because we couldn't do a performance, we looked at possibilities of making a short film. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'd kind of had been writing music that I thought was suitable for this type of idea. And so yeah, the life logging, the idea of life logging is really about being able to, like a diary of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to, I think what I found captivating about it was, like, I think in his life log, he was able to show the first time he met his wife. And of
Wow.
course, he didn't know it was her at that time.
That's so
And
amazing.
then, so in the video, in the film, we have that shot of her. And then obviously, then we did the wedding day later.
Yeah.
But I think what I found really powerful about the life logging was that, the way when we go, well, with Google Photos or Apple Photos, you have all these curated photographs. But with
Mm.
life logging, there's so many events in your life you don't really understand. You've no idea the significance of
I
the
know.
event.
Yeah.
And you imagine, and I thought it was really powerful with the, if you think of what the happiest day of your life, let's just say you think of your life in university, you
Mm.
might say, oh, remember that day. I
Yeah.
mean, with life logging, you could almost relive it in a virtual reality type of
Oh gosh, that's
experience.
amazing. Yeah.
So I thought that was quite powerful. And then, of course,
Mm-hmm.
there's the whole idea of, if you lose someone, um, being able to revisit moments where you were talking to them, or,
Yeah.
and I thought, that kind of blew my mind. And I thought, wow, because when you think of life before the iPhones or that, and
Mm-hmm.
what technology has happened now, and even I find when wake up in the morning, you look at pictures of your kids from 15 years ago on this day, or
Mm-hmm.
10 years, and it's, but this is almost, life logging is a step further, I think,
Yeah.
where you can capture memories, or that. So that's really the idea of life logging.
Yeah.
So my thing was then to just capture it with music, and kind of show the idea, the concept, and
Yeah.
some of the philosophical questions
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Wow.
So
It's some commitment that he did that,
yeah, yeah,
That's probably
yeah.
what makes it
No,
so
for sure.
unique.
No, I
Yeah.
know. And I think, and he's had to be quite careful when he's talking to people, to let them know it's being video. But there is stuff he's working on as well, where it's tracking his eyes as well, so that you will, because with a static camera,
Mm-hmm.
it's just fixed. But if you have it tracked to your eyes, you see what you see. So I just think it's kind of probably a couple of years before it's fully capable, but I think already it's quite exciting, really,
Yeah.
the prospect of, and memory assistance as well. And when you
Uh-huh.
think about your you think of the narratives in your family or your life. There's false narratives, and there's, and then,
Yeah.
when people say, "Well, this is the way it is," and you're going, "Well, actually, I can replay this. This
Yeah,
shows
I
actually
know. The
you were
evidence.
here." And yeah, the evidence. So there's so much opportunity with it,
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Because a few weeks ago there was a lovely young guy from Essex on this show, and he had just done an album on Alzheimer's, which is
Yes.
very strange and very mature sort of theme for this young man, because his nan was suffering. And I was just thinking, that idea of the life logging, as you say, being able to go back and see those memories, it's just, there's so
Yeah.
many possibilities.
But it's funny you say that, because the scientist, his mother has Alzheimer's, and it's kind of one of his motivations to have this kind of memory assist, because
Yeah,
you have these people, they want their memories of the past are so vivid. But even having a kind of a memory assist, where you could say, where am I, what am I doing, and it could prompt you, and it
yeah,
could,
yeah.
there's potential for robotic type of
Oh
assistance
yeah,
there,
totally.
so.
So how then did the Kerry Film Fest and Cannes and Montreal get wind of this very innovative, unique
Yeah, so
idea?
there was, I think, with just these festivals, you enter the festivals and they create a shortlist, and if they like what you're presenting, they show it, and
Cool.
that so it was nice. It was, I mean, yeah, it was great. Like I certainly wasn't planning it,
Yeah, fabulous.
and sort of, I think everyone's got a great laugh out of, showing something in Cannes and
Yeah,
Montreal, and then obviously somewhere more close to home in Ireland, down in Kerry. It's a it's a great festival.
yeah,
So no, it's good.
superb, brilliant.
Good.
Um, so Dermot, I think you're probably the first artist on my show that doesn't actually use lyrics. So it made me think: is it more difficult to convey a message through instrumental? Because obviously, those who use the words in the poetry, etc., can have that double weapon of words. How do you get on with?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. And even when I'm kind of writing a piece, you do want to communicate something, and part of the I suppose, when you're writing the piece, you don't come up with a name first. You come up with the piece, and the melody, and um, I suppose it's what you're hoping to convey in that
Mhm.
melody, and what you find uh, is coming from that melody. So, I mean, the good thing is that, not having to write words.
Yeah,
People just listen to the music. But I guess it is challenging, because you have to hold people's attention, and people like stories and that. So I think I mean, I suppose the Timber Boy, when you mentioned that
mm,
piece, that's actually, the story behind that is, it's my son's name is Dermot too, but his older sister called him Timber. As she was
oh,
trying to
way.
pronounce,
That's
she was
lovely.
pronouncing
Yeah,
Dermot, and it's Timber.
yeah.
That's why. So he got that nickname, Timber,
Oh, that's cool.
and and then I guess there was the whole thing of Pinocchio, and the boy becoming a real boy and stuff.
Yeah,
And I suppose there was that's what I was kind of thinking. And
yeah,
he had an art picture that I thought, it looked a bit like a wooden head, and I used that as the artwork.
yeah. That's
Um,
cool.
but I guess it can mean, yeah. I mean, so it's probably having a little bit of a story. I
Hmm.
find, even if I'm playing them live, I think it leads nicely that there's a bit of a story to them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then people often just take their own thing from it themselves, their own
Yeah, yeah.
interpretations. So I thought this was really nice because you've been compared to Eric Satie, who influenced Debussy, and to Sakamoto, who did the Barcelona Olympics opening ceremony score. And he's also known for his film tracks such as The Last Emperor and The Revenant. So how does that make you feel as in that company?
Well, it's obviously very nice.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's deserved. I suppose I hear some of the pieces, you might see the similarity. I mean, I think uh, Satie I would probably have a piece like the Piano Tide, which would be
Hmm.
have that kind of rhythm
Hmm.
to it. And I suppose I thought, the Sakamoto, I mean, he did the Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, that
Hmm.
piano song, the David Bowie film. But I mean, I think what they were very good at was communicating. Um, there's a gentleness in their piano playing that I would be quite drawn to.
Yeah.
Um, um, so so yeah, look, it's lovely
Yeah.
to be mentioned alongside those. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I see you played a sort of a showcase gig in Arthur's Jazz and Blues Bar in Dublin. Was it last year, which was sold out? So do you prefer, performing live in front of people, or do you prefer being in the melee, in the audience? And what sort of different energies do you experience in the two opposites?
Yeah, so that was I played that. That was just before COVID, the lockdown. So it's one of these fabulous blues and jazz clubs in Dublin, and it was a great opportunity really just to play my pieces and to do that show. But yeah, I mean, I love going to concerts as well.
Yeah.
There's certainly you don't have to do as much preparation.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I do. There's something very special about being able to play for people, and I think venues is probably it's not. I think I probably fall between. I'm not a rock group or a pop group, so you don't, and you need a piano wherever you play, and the classical venues are they're grand halls and stuff, and
Yeah.
I like something more intimate where so I'm definitely open to playing in Jersey or anywhere if there's a good place with a good piano. So do give me a call.
Funny enough, bloody at the beginning of COVID, they shut down the Opera House, the one big venue, and it hasn't opened since.
Oh
anyway,
my God,
politicians squabbling. So when you did that event, did I see that was actually a charity event raising money for, was it PSP and CBD?
Yeah.
Because I'd never heard of those at all.
Yeah, and part of the idea behind it was to raise awareness. My mother had a PSP. It's called progressive supranuclear palsy, and it's a kind of Parkinson's type of thing. So it's who had it? Dudley Moore had it.
Oh, really?
And so they people, when he got it, people were thinking he was drinking and he was
so
going
it's
off the rail. But
incremental sort of.
It was this, your neurological problems and your coordination and it's a cruel affliction. So my mother had it, and she passed away a few months after that gig, and I think, but it was, I think, well, it was the COVID that eventually we think got her. But I think just it was it's such a tough condition. But I think there's so many ailments. This was one that they really appreciated the bit of attention that it brought to it, and raised money and that. So
and raised awareness, as you say. I'm sorry to hear that about your mum. Did she get to see that gig?
No, she wasn't well enough. They had look, it wasn't a great venue there was stairs and there was no so.
Oh, bless. So your song, The Velvet Strand, and I was looking at it thinking, oh, this looks like some gorgeous magical place in Ireland, which it turns out I think is Portmarnock. Sorry.
Portmarnock,
Yeah, so that was back to my question about inspiration. Do you see images and scenery and beautiful place that is, and that inspires the music, or does the composition come first and then you relate it to somewhere or someone or something? What's your sort of creative process?
Yeah, I think it's notes first, and I think the notes on that one have this kind of wave, ripple wave effect. The rhythm on it is that, and I think part of so definitely it's the creating the piece and then trying to find a home for it, where you're going, actually. What it made me feel like, and I think because I grew up beside the beach there in Portmarnock, and we had so many lovely memories growing up there. And it actually, the beach there is, it's 5 miles long, and they used to take. It's a historical beach. They had the first transatlantic flight from Europe to America took off there back in the 20s, and so because it's so flat, and then they called it velvet because it was so velvety, I suppose.
It's a lovely name for a place.
But Yeah, so it was yeah, and actually that piece then, I think a lot of people from Portmarnock, actually, and it didn't really matter whether you were from Portmarnock, but it did connect with people. They
Yeah,
liked the memory of I suppose beaches
yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so let's take a listen now to the Velvet Strand. So here's the Velvet Strand by Dermot. So, do you listen to any other genres of music? Obviously, you mentioned the rock guitar and that. And what are your influences? And then we were talking about going to concerts. Do you go to a wide variety of genres? You know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think well, I mean, I suppose I've always been a big Beatles fan. And what I think I've always, anything where I hear a piano in it, I'd be drawn to it. So Billy
Mm-hmm.
Joel, Queen, Coldplay,
Yeah.
I always was, I found it hooked me in some way. But then I guess I do love guitar and the things a guitar can do that a
Mm-hmm.
piano can't do. And so I'm a big Thin Lizzy fan,
Yeah.
and guitar players, Jeff Beck and
Uh-huh.
um, so what am I? And then I guess I do listen to a lot of classical music, and I think with services like Spotify, you can really listen to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, I know when I was growing up, you were either this or that in terms
Yeah.
of listener. But I just love the variety
Yeah.
that I can. So it's almost, well, I feel like a bit of this or that now, and
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm just so, there's so much great new music coming out
Mm-hmm.
as well. So so it's
It's
yeah,
multiple
music
choice.
listening is it. Yeah, and I think actually it's just trying to stay proactive listening to stuff.
Yeah.
is the job. Sometimes you get distracted and you realize I don't know what's going on now.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Well, that was the one of the many uses of my 18-year-old daughter, who, as I say, is going off to uni. She'd keep me on point, on trend about, this is the latest, this is the Mercury Music nominees, this is a new band from here. I felt really with it, but lost that slightly now. So we talk a lot in this show about music and memories, how, for example, a song is associated with memories in the past, might be no longer tolerable in the present due to changed circumstance or experience. Do you have any songs like this, or vice versa, any songs you really couldn't stand but now you've actually warmed to, the older you've got, or for some reason?
As in music I listen to, or
yeah, just sometimes. I would think of a song that I really hated when I was younger, but then because of an experience of meeting someone or an interaction with someone, and that song was playing, or some association, the song's changed my mind. I actually like it because of the new association. Do you know what I mean? So I was thinking,
I would think of two, and it's probably because of my children. We were on holidays in France a few years ago, and we did a house swap thing, and they had Michael Jackson in the car and his greatest hits. So we were, my daughter loved it and she thought it was great, but I found her enthusiasm. I wouldn't have listened to him necessarily much before, but it certainly made me appreciate it. And I think then my youngest daughter, she's into Whitney Houston, like she's 14.
Really?
And
I love that. I love the way things go out in circles. I really do. That's cool.
And she's just listening to it, and I'm going, of course, I listen to it, and I love the enthusiasm and the way they get excited for music that was big in our day, which I didn't really have that enthusiasm for.
I know, that's lovely, isn't it?
Quite funny,
it's funny. My daughter's the same, where songs just go out in a circle and they're back, and you'll hear her humming it, and it's almost like, how dare you? That's from my generation. Stop singing my songs. It's funny. So is there a certain piece of music that you really adore and wish that you had written?
Oh God, where do you start? I think, I love, Chopin's Nocturnes, and he's got several of them that I just think if the guy was composing today, I wouldn't try. I wouldn't. I just find he's just on another level. And I could name a whole load of those. But they, I think, I always feel they're almost transcendental. They're extraordinary. And then I guess I do like, some of the Ennio Morricone pieces, I suppose Deborah's theme or Gabriel's oboe, there's some of these fabulous pieces that just, I don't know, they speak to you in a way. Then of course, Parisian Walkways with Gary Moore and Phil Lynott, that always gets me.
That always, I know, it's beautiful. Me. So bloody sad.
Isn't it? And they did Gary Moore did a cover version of another piece that I only discovered there recently. It was The Messiah Will Come, and I think it's possibly even more beautiful than Parisian Walkways. And you should check that out. And I know my son heard it and he prefers it to Parisian Walkways, and I'm kind of listening to it again. But it was written by a 70s guitarist, Joe Buchanan. Who had a tragic life, but it's just one of those pieces that it's pretty special. So
keep a listen out for that one. So just going a little bit deeper, obviously, as my show is all about mental health and the power of music, and I was just looking in, obviously, about Dublin, and I always sort of have a look at the places people on the show come from, but it was saying that although suicide rates are falling in Ireland, there's been an increasing demand for mental health and suicide prevention services during COVID, which I think is probably the same everywhere. Have you seen this reflected in Dublin? I guess COVID has played a big factor for.
Yeah, the only thing, you do hear just more from news sources that, I suppose some people are struggling with it. I think it seems to be the people who maybe aren't with a family probably suffer, the people on their own.
Yeah.
And I know that's quite tough. I think, but I mean, I think things are really opening up though the last few weeks. Certainly here in Dublin, and I think there's people are just starved of interaction.
I
And
know, and
I mean,
connection.
we had a gathering there, family gathering there at the weekend, and it was just like before, and it was huge, and it was
Yeah.
just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think I think everyone feels that. I know old people have found it because everyone has to had to stay away from them. So that was, that was torturous.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so the COVID was but then in other respects, it was good for some other families who had time to spend time together,
Yeah.
which is, and I'm sure there's good stories as well, but clearly, yeah, I mean, the mental health is yeah, it's a complex issue.
I think it's getting more of a focus, which is probably another positive of the past year and a
Yeah,
half, in a way.
yeah, we have a lot. There's a lot of sports people and musicians and that talking about it here, and I think it's just giving it an airing so people can feel, oh well, I
Yeah.
know what that feels like, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of it is so that they don't feel alone, that
Exactly.
there's someone there. So yeah.
Yeah, to help them. So just talking about well-being in general, I read that classical music, I don't know where I got this from, but I find it very interesting. It said it involved a phenomenal mathematical structure, and it is definitely possible to improve health and well-being to the listener. It improves sleep, better memory, lowers blood pressure, higher emotional intelligence, and reduces stress. So, I mean, that's like a medicine, in itself. What's your view on the power of music and well-being, and especially classical music, which people do associate with, as you say, that transcendental mindfulness thing?
Yeah, well, I suppose the only exception to that would be is if I'm recording and I play a wrong note. It's
Fair
not
enough.
good. It's not good. I think it gives there's definitely types of classical music that are very complex, and they're I know, but I suppose my stuff, I don't feel it does modulate a lot, and there is different elements to it. I think it's probably more on the laid back side of classical music. Um, and I think there's classical music can be very jarring, and I think more modern classical music, I'm not sure it's really good for relaxation. It's more a chore listening to it sometimes, I think. But I think it's people, they play Mozart to their unborn babies and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what, I suppose it's whatever grips you. I think you can
Yeah.
get a melody in a pop song that's as relaxing as um, that. But I think yeah.
It's whatever. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
the
whatever
connection.
floats your boat. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with classical music is it's that I feel it's that most of the good composers we know are dead.
Yeah.
you know, and so you're trying to. It's nice to be able to connect to composers or the people. Like, that's what's great about listening to modern music. You can find out what are they doing next, or even if
Yeah.
they're recently gone, you connect to them by hearing their stories or their
Yeah.
challenges in life. And I think that's that's the more you get into music, then you like say the Beatles, you go, oh my God, when you see Paul McCartney's life. And I was watching that documentary with Rick Rubin there recently, and it's just, here was a guy 79 and he's like a kid talking about his music. He's so excited and enthusiastic, and I just thought that's such a gift, being able to see someone who's created such a legacy still sharing, explaining his motivations and that. And I suppose with the classical music that I probably listen to, you know, you might read a letter or something they wrote 150 years ago.
Transcript.
Exactly.
That is actually a good point. It's very different sort of interaction, isn't it? So we're just going to break for a second because I want to ask you about your composition, For the Love of Chocolate. And is this song written about me or for me? How did it come about as a song? I think is pure chocolate to listen to. That was another one that you put up on the SLERADIO, and it is exquisite, as is the chocolate. So I'm assuming it's about chocolate and not some cryptic abstract concept.
No, there's nothing. It's very simplistic. Yes, it's. I suppose, you know, there's a few things in life that you can control. And having a bar of chocolate in your hand is one
wouldn't
thing.
say that in this house.
But I think it was just the again, the melody, and the part of it was it develops into I think in the second verse, where I'm repeating a note. And it is almost like the tantalizing effect of, you know, you take one bite of the chocolate and then, you know, this...
I'm going to have to have a break and go and get some chocolate. Yes, I know what you mean.
You know, where you just got to eat the whole bar and
Absolutely.
it's just not, or the whole box. It's just not going to...
It is bliss.
It's not going to do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just come back to Dermot, back to the past year and a half. I was just wondering, how have you coped with the lockdown and ongoing disruption in daily life? Were you still out working at the uni, or were you working at home much? And did it interfere with your creative process over this past 18 months or so?
Yeah. Well, how did it affect me? I think probably my output didn't change much. I was saying I thought I'd do more because I was at home, but you end up working just the same hours eventually, and then so it didn't. I mean, I almost think going out to work and coming back from work, you have more energy to jump
I
in
know.
back into it.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're at home all day and you're saying, I better go out, see what life is like outside. So I think output wise, I'm not sure. I know I probably didn't do more.
Yeah.
But personally, I think it's been nice with my family.
Yeah.
They're kind of teenagers now, and you just see them growing up so much,
Yeah.
and that's nice that there's time there I would have never got to see. Well, it wasn't all good, but we got to see
I know.
everyone in their finest. So I
Yeah.
think in some ways there was certain sides of it that were a gift.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, and I think it's only in time when things go back to normal. We'll see this as a period of COVID time. It'll be funny to reflect on it.
Yeah, exactly. How did your young ones cope over the period as well? Because I know with my daughter, she found the whole loss of control in social life, and I don't know if you know, but the UK exam system went a bit up the left, as I say, over the COVID period. So how did your young ones cope just with all those disruptions?
Yeah, I think there was certainly at the start, they did the remote teaching and stuff, and I'm not sure that really worked. It was like very hard to get people out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
But I think once they did adapt to it, though, in a way. I guess we'll only probably know how they. I mean, they couldn't go out to discos and stuff. So as a father of two girls, that was probably a relief. I didn't have to worry about where they were. But I think it was okay. We probably did a lot more things together as a unit. So but they'll make up for it. I think once.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So some of my past guests have talked about music as a form of escapism, and especially your music, where it is quite a solitary production process. Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? I.e., can escapism become isolation? And what I mean by that probably is, does your wife say, would you ever get off that piano and come and talk to us, or do you find yourself just getting so absorbed sometimes in the process?
Yeah, you look, if I'm honest, when you get stuck into it, you then put in time with the family, and it's you want to go back. It's like Game of Thrones. I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones. It's once you start watching it.
Yes, I heard.
I found I couldn't. It was like, I'll eat my dinner, but I need to see
shovel my dinner. I know. Shovel my dinner done. Yeah.
So sometimes I think when you're in a kind of a flow with some of the music, and where you are making the breakthroughs you need to, and you feel and you're excited. It could be consuming, but it's in a good way. You just need to be aware that there's other people there.
Yeah, fair enough. Just getting the balance, isn't it?
Yeah, getting the balance. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, we've nearly come to the end of our time, so I'm going to ask you, Dermot, what exciting things are ahead of you for hopefully post-COVID wonderfulness and success?
Yeah, well, I think that I would love to do another concert or gig. So I think I'm just looking at possible venues, and So you're playing again. I'd love to play my pieces and maybe for a good cause as well.
Yeah.
Whether I do with PSP or someone else,
Mhm.
I kind of look into that. And then I do have a whole bunch of new pieces that I just need to record. That I just haven't. I haven't got around to because I'm spending so much time with my lovely family.
See the balance. You got that balance
The
wrong there.
balance, I'm keeping that balance. I got to tilt it back. Yeah.
Absolutely. So before we finish, then, what song would you like me to finish with? What's your maybe favorite song of all the pieces you've done, and I can play tonight?
Well, I tell you what, there's two. I can't make up my mind. One of the pieces is called Bloomsday, and that worked really well live, and it's great excitement, and I got a great reaction playing it live. But one that I feel is quite an emotional one is one with a violin lead called with Chase a Loss.
Oh yes,
I could you decide? Because I just
yes, I can. Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, so I will decide. I'll have a think on that. So
thanks.
All I can say is thank you very much. It's been really interesting. And as I said, it's so nice and different from what we've done before in the show. And I just hope that, our listeners will go and check out Dermot J. Kennedy and some of your amazing tunes. And I wish you all the best for the future, Dermot.
Well, thank you very much, Frankie, and all the best to you and all your listeners.
No worries. And sorry about my technical issues, as usual. But yeah, we got there in the end.
We got through. Perfect.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So I couldn't decide whether to play Bloomsday or Chase a Loss, so I'm going to play both. So sit back and relax and listen to these lovely Dermot's delights. Until next time then, keep the music in mind. God bless and see you all soon. Thanks for joining me. Here's Dermot.